Hello, everyone. Welcome to our awesome podcast recording this week. We are here to discuss health for the holidays. So we're going to be talking about the best strategies and probably a lot of things that you haven't heard of before, which is very exciting, especially with regards to peptides, if you're a little familiar with that, and what we do at East West Health to support our patients through the holiday season to have the best time possible and the best health possible. So my name is Anne Marked. I'm the project manager for East West Health, and this is Your Healthy Self and our Health Transformation podcast reporting. I have with me the amazingly talented Regan Archibald, who is going to be speaking with us about this Health for the Holidays strategy session. And Regan, if you're not familiar, he is our lead practitioner at East West Health. We are 5 clinics, 4 in the state of Utah and 1 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Regan is a prolific writer and speaker. He is a licensed acupuncturist as well as a functional medicine professional and expert. He also knows a ton about regenerative medicine, which we use as well, ancient healing techniques, and peptides. If you're not familiar with peptides, definitely look back at our previous recordings. We've been talking a lot about that. They are like that secret sauce that you need in your life to take your health to a whole new level. So Regan, I'm so excited to hear our Health for the Holidays presentation today.
Let's dive in. I'm excited too because the holidays are here. This weekend is Halloween. Anne, are you going to dress up this weekend?
I actually got a really fun mask. So yes, I have that too. I can even pull it up on the podcast.
Oh, please do. Grab it. Yeah. And Cade, what's your costume? Oh, Cade's just getting here. Cade, what's your costume for Halloween? It's funny.
Here, I'll see. I got a picture here somewhere.
We'll go get mine.
And everybody on the show, plug in what you're dressing up for as for Halloween, because what a fun holiday. I love Halloween. I think we're having a big party tomorrow at the house with all the bunch of kids, and then Saturday we'll just do just hang out, watch. Oh, there's Anne.
This
nice.
is a Halloween costume. I got it at Goodwill.
Oh, there's Cade's.
Oh my God.
I got abducted by an alien.
That's awesome. Look at Sierra. She's got the little alien costume. And what is yours? Is that looks like
it's one of those, yeah, like Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, nice. That is a cool mask.
Yeah, I got this at Goodwill. It was like $6. How nice is that? It's painted and everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's some art. Look at
you.
You
even
guys.
have to touch it up?
No.
That's
great.
sweet.
Wow. That is impressive. Well,
I also made a very much healthier version of a dessert for my roommates that I was stoked about. And I called it a Black Widow Spider brownie that I used healthier ingredients with, but it was a hit. Everybody loved it. So totally worked.
Nice. We got Hillary's being Medusa. Nice.
Great.
Very cool.
Yeah. Really fun to be able to dress up and, consent to, getting your body all, masked up and going for it. So that's awesome. Good. Well, and some of you aren't dressing up and that's fine. But I think the moral of the story is, yes, we're coming up to the holidays. And how do you want the holidays to go this year? Because if you look at any year in the history of my life, or probably any of us on here, there's probably never been quite the year like 2020. I mean, talk about worldwide lockdowns, pandemics. I mean, we had an earthquake of 5.7 magnitude here in Salt Lake, March 18th, 3 days after the state went on lockdown. I mean, just so many crazy things have gone on. And so I think the holidays are one of the best times of the year to celebrate. And what a better year than this year to celebrate the fact that we're all alive, we made it, and we are here. We're fighting back and we're saying, hey, this is, we got this, because as Dan Sullivan, who's been on the show, many of you know him, as Dan Sullivan says, this year we're working out with a weight vest. So we're going through life with a weight vest on. We have some unique challenges And so if you can look at it like training, it makes it much more doable. So I like that. What do you think of that
I
perspective?
like that. That's a interesting, cool perspective. Hey, you get more challenges. The more challenging life is, the more stuff that gets thrown at us, the more resilient you become. In my opinion, I'm sure there's some fact and there's some fact that backs that. But yeah, it does make you create some better resilience. I dig that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good way to look at this. So I'm going to ask everyone just to take a minute right now and create some intentionality around what you want your holidays to look like. Because a lot of times we just rush into the holidays and all we're doing is either inviting people to parties, or we are accepting invitations to parties. Or what I see a lot of people do is say, I'm just saying no to everything this holiday season. I'm hunkering down. Well, we've been hunkering down all year, so let's figure out a way that we can have some safe, healthy holiday interaction. And so what I've got for you today is just, some of the pitfalls that can come up with your health in regards to the holidays. And I think one of the best places to exercise some social well-being and social wellness is during the holidays. And so maybe we can frame that. So, Cade, I see you've already been to a Halloween party, right?
Yeah.
And what was that like? Was it pretty fun? I mean, did that get you lit up a little bit?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's always fun to go laugh at each other's costumes and you know have some fun, eat some good food, and be with good company.
Yeah, Cade's always got ridiculous Halloween costumes, him and his wife. You guys are so creative. I love it.
I, I, it started in like early years. Yeah, I think even in high school, I dressed up on like a daily in high school. That was like I'd always try to find the most crazy outfits I could find to go to school in.
Yes, you did. And your room, Cade had the craziest furniture in his room too. I think your wall was spray painted. I mean, you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
Cade had a man
Talk
cave.
about health. So yeah, we had two rooms. I'm like the caboose, so all the kids were out of the house, and there was two rooms next to each other. So I knocked out the closet that was in between there, did my own remodel on my room. Luckily, my parents are really cool, and then my friends, we all tagged the like wall. It was painted white and just spray painted all these different graffiti on it and everything. And luckily, we were able to paint over it after I graduated high school. My parents were like, "All right, we're done with this. You got to fix it." And it wasn't too hard to fix. Yeah, had some fun with that. The spray paint fumes probably got me high for a couple days in a row.
Yeah, he's like, let's do that again, guys. Yay. No wonder why you lost so many brain cells. It's all coming
That's
together for those of us here who have
we're
been
connecting
wondering,
the
like,
dots here, aren't we?
Kate all there. Oh yeah, it's the spray paint that he slept in his room as a kid. Ah. Oh, Christy, he went to a trunk or treat last night, had a lot of fun, but some candy after. Yes, that's why I duct tape my mouth every time I go to trunk or treat, so I don't eat the candy.
It's fun to get the candy, and then it's even more fun to eat it. And then like 10 minutes later, you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah, candy's a lot like Monopoly money. You think you got something valuable and you're like, oh man, I got like $500,000 in Monopoly bucks or whatever they're called. But then, a little ways through the game, you're like, there's not like, it's not worth anything. So candy, yeah, you get that like, ooh, but yeah, just think of candy as Monopoly money. Awesome. Good. Well, good job, Christy. 3 hours before
Hey,
you. I
I'll
think
call that a win.
I think she metabolized it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. All right. Well, let's jump into a little strategy session. All right. So now that everyone's got their holidays, kind of get your mindset right. I call this is part of my Never Stop Healing section because I'm writing, my newest book is called Never Stop Healing. And it's been a really fun journey to go on this book. It's kind of like the itch that's always there. I'm scratching it all the time. I think sometimes I bled through the scratching too hard and just not, but it's coming together really nicely. So let's talk about a daily check-in. So how many of you are at the stage of life where maybe you're at a pattern where you felt stuck, and you're trying to move the needle, or maybe you're somebody who has really been engaged and now you're ready. You've cleaned up your diet, increased your sleep and exercise, but there's still a gap that you're trying to fill, and really want to find out ways to fill that gap and actually move to the next level. Or maybe you're somebody who is just really knows that there's a risk in entering the holidays without a plan. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is putting intentionality around your holidays. And so a couple promises I'm going to make to everybody is I'll give you some myths that are out there, and we're going to dispel the myths. And it's actually good news. I mean, Cade and I have talked about this, some of the myths around the holiday weight gain, and we'll talk about why it's good news and bad news. But I'm also going to give each and every one of you an opportunity to do a health strategy session with one of the medical providers here at the clinic. And so this is a unique gift that we've never offered before. It's our holiday gift for you. So stick around to the end and you'll be able to get a chance to get your very own holiday health strategy session. It can be with me or one of our colleagues, one of our affiliates, and our amazing providers at the clinic. So let's jump in. So weight creep. Now, everyone knows there's this weight creep that happens. Weight creep is what leads most Americans to packing on about 10 to 20 pounds per decade. So we're going to talk about that. Heart attacks happen most frequently around Christmas and New Year's and the holidays. And so I'm going to show you some ways you can stave off some of that stress. And then we're going to talk about how to avoid the holiday stress that also sets off autoimmunity and thyroid conditions. And then we'll talk about how to take action on your health instead of wishing and waiting for the holidays to be over. Because, Cade, have you ever had those holidays where you're just like, I can't wait till this is over?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it gets a little daunting, especially once you get down to Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
past that, the Christmas and all the stress, and yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, Cade and I, our parents, that 30 something grandkids, they got 5 kids, they got family everywhere. And I mean, just the stress that some of you are going through who have a lot of kids and big old families, this one's for you. So we want to protect your heart health. And there's good reason why people do have these like strokes and heart attacks during the holidays. So here's one of the big myths we're going to dispel right out of the gate. So if I ask each one of you, how many pounds do you think the average American gains over the holidays? And we've seen these headlines, the average American gains 7 to 10 pounds, but what would be kind of your thinking around this? And so you can plug it in the chat box, but I've always shared this with people. I've said, look, the holidays are very dangerous. This is where people put on the majority of their weight. But if you put on 7 to 10 pounds, most of us are going to have to get some new clothes, and it can't fit into our pants. And that's where a lot of my female patients tell me, thank you, Lululemon, because those pants stretch with you and shrink with you. But us dudes, we're like, well, my jeans don't fit because I put on 10 pounds. And so we got to go get new jeans. But really, as I looked into the research, I said, is this true? Because I've been talking about this for at least 20 years. And then I was like, oh, I had a moment like, well, I should have looked at some real data instead of trusting in the headlines, because Kate, I guess the media isn't always giving us accurate information.
Imagine that. That's
Imagine
crazy.
That. That's crazy. I felt so betrayed. I was like, what happened? All right. So anyway, it's not always truth what you read on headlines, but here's what the Texas Tech University did. They followed 48 men and 100 women between the ages of 18 and 65 for 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. And what researchers did at the beginning, they weighed the subjects, and then at the end, and they looked at body fat percentages. And on average, the volunteers gained 1.5 pounds. So the dudes gained about 2 pounds and the ladies gained about 1 pound. So that's far less than the 7 to 10 pounds. And I said, well, this is Texas Tech. That's like, come on, like, let me get some real science. And so I went over to the trusted New England Journal of Medicine, and this is peer-reviewed articles. And what they found is that the average American's weight increases 0.4% over Christmas and 0.2% over Thanksgiving. And actually, they looked at 3 different countries. They looked at Great Britain, and they looked at some other European country, and the United States. I believe it was Italy. And we gained a little more than the other countries. I wonder what the Germans gained. That would be an interesting, because I've been in Germany during Christmas, and it's a real thing. Paris, I've been in Paris during Christmas. It's a real thing. It's really exciting there. Amsterdam, it's a real deal. They eat a lot of, they throw down some food.
So is it like in Germany, is it like a lot of beer and bread, or what do you mean that it's real?
It's
I
real
think of
because,
brats and sauerkraut and I've yeah, whatever traditional German food is, but
yeah, so they have really good like mulled wine, and then the pastries and treats. So you can go in
the
any of the European
pastries.
places.
You got to watch out for Reagan. You put a pastry in front of him and it's
Yeah, willpower doesn't work is my excuse. I'm like, that thing looks way better than this, like forcing it away. Like I'm a junkie. Once I ate 12 desserts and hungry. And I'm not joking. Like I go a little bit crazy sometimes. So that's why I don't eat any sugar, because once the cap's off, it's off. So but yeah, you go to these cool little, they have these Christmas fairs. And so you have the Christmas market, and at the Christmas market, they just have, there's pastries and treats and candy everywhere. And they have their, every country, and even parts of the countries in Europe have their special Christmas cake that they have. And you got to try it all. So, it can creep on, but it's a fun place. So United States, if you look at the average weight gain, yes, we are 10 days following Christmas. What we found is then people start to get back on track. But if you look at 0.4% of the body weight, that's going to be about a pound to a pound and a half. And so what they found, and that was a 600-person study. This one's a 195-person study. Yep, the average person does not gain 5 pounds, but more like a pound to 2 pounds. So good news or bad news? What do you think, Cade?
I think it's interesting news because in my head it would have been a lot more, and I think that's what we've been fed, and so it makes you kind of pay more attention to that time. But if it's just a pound, it's a lot easier to just be like, "Oh, I gained a pound. That's not a big deal." Which in weight, weight is obviously not the best measurement for health or even obesity. Yes, there's some factors there, but health wise, there's a lot better factors. But if you're gradually putting on weight and most of that is fat, you're creating some health problems long term, which is a problem. Had a couple good questions come through the Q&A box. Just want to bring those up.
Is it more about my pastries, or are these
Everybody is
croissants?
appalled. They did not know that you ever partook of sugar, Reagan.
It's like hearing the preacher swear. You're like, what?
Exactly. No, so I love this idea. So there was someone asked Bev asked, what's a good healthy candy treats for kids? None that not that I love leftovers. Some that I would love to have leftovers to eat myself. um, and Christy said glow sticks. I thought that was brilliant. So you can hand out glow sticks at Halloween instead of candy.
Yep.
I've seen some different like stevia sweetened treats instead of like pure sugar. And
Yeah.
then Anne posted something from a nutritionist that posted, but Simple Mills mixes. So there's some gluten-free and paleo brownies, cooking pumpkin seeds. Oh, I love pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
Asking your kids to trade in their candy for money. So
Oh, yeah.
this is,
Switch with.
you guys know that Switch Witch? That's what we do at our house. Is our kids can have like 5 of their prized possessions, and then they'll get like a prize at the door, and then the rest of that, I don't even know where it goes for the candy. But skinny popcorn is really good. Unreal Snacks and Snackapade marshmallow treats. I'm not familiar with those. Better
Wow.
options than conventional stuff. So there's some good options. That's I think Anne posted that in the chat box too.
Yeah.
So those are all, some good ideas for you guys as you're looking at getting your trick or treat candy ready.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you want to look at is artificial flavors, and especially artificial colors have been shown to be neurotoxic, especially for kids. And in certain states, they ban these substances because they find the behavioral issues in kids is so impactful. And so I would just encourage everybody to just read the label of whatever you're purchasing. If you are giving out candy, I live in a neighborhood where there's about 300 to 400 kids that come every year. Last year we had over 500. And so
Wow, that's awesome.
yes, and then last year was the first year we lived in that neighborhood right above the Capitol in Salt Lake City, and holy smokes, we had to like turn off the lights and stuff, and then it was
All of a
crazy.
sudden, you had like egg droppings going down your house. You
Yeah,
got toilet paper. There's like, where's my candy?
I've been waiting for this all year. You're such a jerk. I'm like, I'm just eating pastries. I'm in a coma. I've got like donut all over my face, and
You got the powdered donuts.
looking like Dave Chappelle. So yeah, I mean, but I think Bev, I think you're onto something, and I liked what you said, Christy. Glow sticks. Doing something creative is really meaningful, and that's what we do with our kids. Is the Switch Witch has been great. My kids are now at the age where they're too cool to trick or treat, but I had one of my sons that would just negotiate the heck out of me with the Switch Witch, and Cade knows, Dom, he
He's
just would be ruthless. He's like, I'm not going to take $40 for this. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'll do it for 60. And I'm like, no. So a
that
couple
is
of years,
awesome.
I couldn't afford to buy the candy for my kids. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a pricey trick or treat session.
Yeah. Well, he's like, I'll just go sell it on eBay or go sell it at school. I'm like, well, all right, whatever. So yeah.
He's the new candy dealer at school.
Yeah, exactly. The first
Reagan,
one's
your
on me.
son, your son's been selling candy out of his locker. He
No,
needs a
he got in
business
trouble for
license
it.
for that. Oh, he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's real.
That's real. Yeah, they apparently they're not pro like entrepreneurism in schools these days. He got
Gotta have a business license for that, Reagan. Come on.
there's taxes to be paid, kids. All right, so here's the real threat that's going on. So we eat the candy, we eat the treats, and there's this condition that's going on. And I read a lot of labs, and looking at labs. I'm always shocked by the amount of fatty liver disease that shows up. So if you've got your labs in front of you, your most recent labs, you can look at two markers. You can look at ALT and AST. And if your ALT is twice the amount of your AST, we've got to talk. Or if any one of those markers are elevated, that means your liver is in a compromised state. Or if you have high cholesterol, high triglycerides, these are real issues. And one of the things you want to look at in cholesterol, because a lot of us are like, well, I'm on statins and my doctor says my cholesterol is fine, but just because you're on statins does not mean the problem's fixed. Because all that is if you look at cholesterol like the paramedics showing up on the job, cholesterol is released from your liver when there is damage control that needs to happen. And so cholesterol is like that major hormone that feeds all the other hormones in your body, and it's so critical, but it also repairs the arterial linings. So when you have inflammation, your blood vessels get damaged. And so when the ambulance and fire trucks are there, when you take a statin, that's like just saying, hey, you guys go home, even though there's still a fire. Why don't you just go home so that the labs look good? And so, Cade, what happens if you just send the paramedics home when they haven't finished their job?
Oh, that could be really scary.
Yeah, really scary. And that's essentially what we're doing when we just swallow these statins or cholesterol lowering medications. So what we have to do is look deeper at what's going on. And one of the things we're finding that is more prevalent than diabetes is fatty liver disease. And so the prevalence is going up higher and higher and higher. Even kids are now starting to be diagnosed with fatty liver disease. And so the problem with this is if it goes on long enough and NASH, is non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. And that disease is the #1 cause for liver transplants in our country. And so you're like, well, how does this relate to the holidays, Regan? Well, the way it relates to the holidays is those treats that we're eating. It's not necessarily the weight creep that is the biggest issue, but it's the amount of damage that you do to your liver. And so that's where alcohol, that's where sweets, and especially if you're combining the two, what happens with your liver is your liver starts taking those sugars in and converts it into triglycerides. And then this white fat tissue starts depositing in your liver. And over time, as your liver starts storing too much fat, then it can't work on the other metabolic processes. So how many of you get bloated after you eat? How many of you burp a lot after you eat? How many of you get really gassy? And there's a good chance that it's because your liver is not able to perform its duties, its digestive functions, as well as you'd like it to perform it, because it's so bogged down by storing all this fat in the liver. So remember, sugar gets converted into fat in the liver when you're eating these refined carbohydrates. And so, yes, I know I don't do it nearly as much as I did in the past, but probably about 2 or 3 times a year, I would just go crazy on the sweets. Now I just say, well, maybe I'll take it easy and I'll eat a croissant here and there. That actually has scratched my itch over the last couple of years. Peptides have actually made it so easy because I don't have, like on IGF-1, you're like, I don't have any cravings for sugar anymore. So I kind of miss the old me, but I like the new me better.
The gorger.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the challenge, all right, so I like new challenges now. So why don't we talk about fatty liver disease? Well, Big Pharma, there's no drug that just you can throw at it and treat it. Big Pharma has spent billions of dollars trying to solve this problem, because I guarantee you, once there's a drug that can accurately treat fatty liver disease, you're going to see it on the news. You'll see it everywhere. The marketing is going to be out of control because this is a bigger deal than diabetes. But you don't hear about it because there's no drug behind it. So no one's pushing anything on you. So what we're trying to do today is let's keep our liver really healthy. So some of the things you can do right out of the gates: avoid alcohol, acetaminophen, Tylenol, and other pain medication that has to be metabolized by the liver. And then eat lots of cruciferous vegetables. So we'll talk about some ways you can control what you're putting in your mouth during the holidays, because this could be pretty big deal. So one study that I found, they found that adults who drank 2 cups of water before meals shed 40% more weight over a 12-week period. That's pretty cool, right, Cade? So two glasses of water before you go sit down for the Thanksgiving meal, you drink some water, 2 glasses.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant.
And when we do our football games or basketball games during Thanksgiving, that's another really good thing, because either before the big meal or after the big meal, you want to be super active, deplete all the glycogen storage in your liver.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. One thing I took from the 4-Hour Body, from Tim Ferriss's book, like him, I just imagine him. I think there was a part in the book where he talks about he's at like a bar or at some restaurant and he's doing air squats in the bathroom.
Right, in the stall.
Just burning off. He was doing like 30 air squats just because he had just like eaten a bunch of garbage food and drank a lot of beer or something, and he was just doing air squats like crazy. And he was able to like really maintain and even drop weight during a period of like, he'd do some cheat days, things like that. And that's what that reminds me of. Like, get some movement, whether that's even if you can't do air squats, doing wall push-ups, if you're not able to do real push-ups, really doing anything movement wise. Obviously, like, get outside is ideal if you can go for a hike or play some sports, anything like that. But yeah, movement is so key after a big meal.
Yeah. Last year we were in Idaho visiting our grandma in Rexburg, and then went to Targhee. And so we're actually snowboarding in deep powder. Jonah and I were in a foot deep powder last Thanksgiving. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'll make your legs burn.
I was burning. Yeah. I mean, that was first ride of the year, and yeah, it was really fun. So yeah, drink more water, get some activity in. But yeah, the other thing you can do is after your meal, drink another glass of water. And so that will keep you from wanting that, like that sweet thing, or keep you from going back to calories. In the United States, 50% of us consume more calories from the snacking after dinner than we do with dinner itself. So one of the things that I have is a strict cutoff date. Like once I'm done, or cutoff time, once I'm done eating, it's gone. And so give yourself kind of a limit of when you're going to finish eating. And that can make a big difference in how you handle your holidays. So one of the things we say, get half your body weight in ounces minimum in water, and then put some sea salt, some Redmond salt, some electrolytes in your water. You can also use apple cider vinegar, unsweetened cranberry, and lemon juice. That's a great way to filter out all those fatty acids and triglycerides that get stored in your liver, is with the apple cider vinegar, unsweetened cranberry juice, and lemon juice. So it's in page 97 in my book, Your Health Transformation. Great little thing you can do there. All right. So, and another thing you can do is you can test your urine. So what we're going to do with everyone today is, if you can just show us a clear glass of water in your urine, then Cade's going to do a test for you and let you know how hydrated you are. So
That's right.
actually just send it to Cade's house. Cade, what's your address? And then he could let you know.
Yeah, just send me the vial.
Okay.
I'll be
maybe not, but yeah, if you
look
look
a report of your urine.
if you look at your urine, you can actually gauge, how hydrated you are or are not. So if it's really pale, kind of a pale straw color, that's normal. That's where you want to be. If it's more whitish and clear, you may be overdoing it. Or even if it's a little more on the pale side, you want it to be kind of a transparent yellow. Because what a lot of us don't realize is when we're in that super clear zone, you can get more dehydrated by drinking too much water than too little. And so that's, another myth that's out there is like, well, I'll just carry around a gallon jug and keep drinking all day. Well, you need to have electrolytes in it, some kind of salts to help absorb the fluids where they're going.
Yeah, think about something getting waterlogged. Or if you're just like constantly pouring water through something, it just like it cleans it out. And yeah, like you think about your digestive system, your whole body, you need little organisms and little things in there to help things thrive. You don't want bad things, but you got to have some stuff in there. So add in minerals, things like that with your hydration makes it way better.
Way better, way more better is what they say in Hawaii. So you guys, if you have thyroid issues, especially, there's a study that was released just a few months ago that they found that by drinking tap water for a week, just by drinking tap water for a week, you actually throw off your T4 and T3 on your thyroid numbers. So you actually diminish your thyroid function just by drinking tap water for a week. So interesting.
Wow. From the chlorine is what you're saying, right?
Chlorine and fluoride in the tap water. They hypothesized it was the fluoride more than the chlorine in that study. But and who knows? I mean, if you go to the EWG, the Environmental Working Group.org, you can plug in your zip code and you can see the amount of contaminants in your water. And in my zip code, we've only got about 132, and our arsenic's about 80% higher than what they recommend.
Whoa.
So those of you who live in,
then they recommend, and what they recommend is probably not the best thing either.
No, these guys are really good. The Environmental Working Group, they are.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, these guys. This is not the EPA, but these guys are solid on what their standards are. So
yeah, EWG is great. Hey, we had a question on. It looks like it got answered, but yeah, would your vitamins like vitamin B's cause your urine to be more yellow?
Yeah,
or more like neon, and that's very, very typical.
Yes, it is. And especially if you're not absorbing the vitamin D or the vitamin B, the thiamine can make it really yellow. And so that can be an indication that you're not actually absorbing it, and you got to work on your digestive system. Or you're pushing it too hard, taking too much vitamin B.
Yeah, overtaking it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you look at your urine and if it's amber or honey, or if it's like brown, you got problems, especially if you've been drinking water and you're like, something's not working. And I'm shocked at the amount of people who we look at your labs and your kidneys are struggling. And so that's a problem. And the other thing you want to look at is if you've got pink to reddish blood after you've eaten beets. Beets are the biggest one. I rarely see it with blueberries or rhubarb, but this could be a sign of leaky gut. And so this is not good. You should not have red in your blood, even or red in your urine, especially you don't want blood there. But if you actually eat beets and you notice you're peeing red, that's a really good indication that you've got some digestive issues. So especially if you see you take B vitamins, your urine's like fluorescent, and then you're eating beets, you've got pink to reddish color in your urine. We got to work on your digestive system. All right. So what we've learned so far, holidays, Cade, we dispelled a few myths. Number one is it's not 7 to 10 pounds, it's 1 to 2 pounds. And that actually is more dangerous because it's building up in your liver. And that's scary.
Yeah.
It's not like you just get frustrated and like, I can't believe I put 10 pounds on this Christmas again. And you get after it. You're just like, well, a pound's not too bad. And maybe it's just maybe it's just the time of day that I weigh myself, but what happens after 10 years?
Yeah, that's what gets scary, I think, is that long term over time, and that's like organ fat that is the hardest, most impossible to get off. Once it's there, especially for a long time, it's really tough to get that stuff out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the organ fat is where it goes first. So organs or visceral fat is where you can, if you want to look up some research on that. But yeah, the fat accumulates around the organs first, and then it starts going into your body. And so, you just peel back and say, oh, there's some deposits going on here. And it can really start making your liver very sluggish and your kidneys very sluggish. Man, you can't live without either of those systems. So really important. So keep those systems clean. The other myth we dispelled is that just by drinking more water is going to help you stay hydrated. That is not true. You do need to drink more water. Most of us do, but you also need to add some sea salts, some electrolytes, some type of minerals into the water, or combine your water with food so that the water can go where it needs to go.
And that's one thing with like hard workouts. If you're doing a lot of exercise, or maybe you do like distance running, anything like that, I've been blown away when I started adding in electrolytes. You can either do like little tablets, or there's some different powders. It actually tastes pretty good. It's make sure you're getting stuff without any sugar or artificial flavors. But it's I feel like my recovery is so much better when I add in electrolytes with my water, with kind of more exercise and bigger workouts. Feels
It's
so
great.
much better.
And you can go so much longer too. Like you get, like mountain biking, you get like 10 miles deep and everyone else is bombing out. And it's like, wow, I feel good. I'm going to keep rocking it because I've got my hydration going.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Now let's talk about the other big threat. Or was there questions that came through, Kate?
Had one come through from David. He said, "What's your opinion on Kangen water? They add salts to the water to make the alkaline water."
Mm-hmm.
Kangen. Now that
Kangen. Yeah.
is that a specific brand?
No,
I know
it's
I've heard
actually,
that.
yeah, I used to have a machine in the office.
Okay.
And I think it's Kangen. But but um, but what they're doing is you can get your water super alkaline, David, and the only problem with that is when the water you want water as close to neutral as possible, the way you find it in nature. Sometimes in nature you'll find it up into 8, up into 9, but when you start alkalizing your water up to like 12, that's when you can start to get, especially if you have what's called hypochlorhydria, or when you have a lack of enzymes in your stomach. So your stomach acid starts to get too alkaline. When the stomach acids get too alkaline because you're drinking too much of the Kangen water, then you get gastroparesis. You don't have the enzymes to break down the food. So as with everything, it's always a balance.
Yeah. Good with moderation, but yeah, if that's all you're hydrating with, or if you overhydrate, because you need some acid to break down your food. And so those enzymes are really critical.
Yeah, but great question. I mean, that's it's awesome because that's a great water source. So keep it up, but just don't go crazy on it. Don't hyper focus on alkaline unless you've run your labs and it's like, man, you've got some metabolic acidosis, which a lot of us do. Look at your Annie and Gap, for example. That can let you know where you're at in your acidity in your blood. So
Nice.
awesome. Okay, let's talk about stress, because stress, holy smokes, that can be a big thing. So what there was is a study in 2015 conducted by Healthline, and they interviewed hundreds of people, and what they found is 62% of the respondents described their stress levels as very or somewhat elevated during the holidays, while only 10% reported no stress during the holidays. And of these people, 59% of the stress came from work, and 38% of them said it's from the holidays itself. So how many of you have more stress during the holidays? And so here's what happens when we have stress that builds up. This is where our incidences of heart attacks spike. So here's an interesting study. They looked at this, the information on heart attacks and heart disease over 15 years. And what they examined was 53 million US death certificates from 1973 to 2001. And they found that there was a massive spike in heart attacks during the holiday season. So for those of you who can't see this graph, for those of you who will be listening on the radio or on our podcast, you'll see that there's a massive spike of heart attacks that happen right around Christmas. Well, it starts to spike around, right around Halloween. It starts to creep up, and then Thanksgiving it creeps up more, and then by Christmas we have a massive spike in heart attacks, and then again on New Year's Day it spikes even higher. So the holidays are one of the easiest days to die on are the holidays. So make sure that you don't want to give death any assistance. And so one of the things you want to do is make sure that you're keeping your stress levels balanced by doing a lot of journaling, doing a lot of meditating, exercising, eating the right foods. And so what I found is if you can just start eating, nice quantities of vegetables, at any gathering you go to, fill your plate up with your vegetables. Number one, vegetables first, big old pile of vegetables. And that's going to really help mitigate a lot of the cardiovascular damage that you're doing from some of the snacks and treats that you're eating. And then the other thing is adding in, if you do happen to eat candy, like, Christy, we all have been there, the trunk or treat, and we just have to try a few of those Twix bars or whatever. But one of the things you can do is get apple cider vinegar and lemon juice and the unsweetened cranberry in water and drink that, and it will help purge a lot of the sugars. Or just apple cider vinegar alone has been shown to help blunt the glucose spike from the sugar. So some things you can do to keep your body healthy. But number one, make sure you're giving lots of hugs. There's this beautiful neurotransmitter called oxytocin that gets released when we hug people. And we are depleted in oxytocin in 2020. So I'm nervous about the amount of heart disease that's going on during the holidays, and the amount of stress is probably going to be compounded with everything that's happened. So lots of hugs, lots of smiles, lots of love, gratitude all over the place will keep your heart nice and open, because the moment that you have gratitude, your brain releases oxytocin. And when your brain releases oxytocin, nitric oxide production gets released in your muscles and in your blood vessels. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator. So literally your heart is opening up when you get nitric oxide release. And so oxytocin does that. So it's really beautiful cascade of physiology in our bodies.
I was just going to say, that's like some beautiful physiology right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, meditation and gratitude has lots of science behind it.
Lots of science.
It's amazing
Yes.
stuff. Yeah, it's crazy how we go from, you look at this chart, and for those of you that aren't on the webinar, so you can't see this, it goes from about, 50 to 55,000 deaths from heart attack up to the peak is almost to 65,000. Like, just crazy amount of spikes in that day. Like that's the curve we need to be focused on flattening. It's crazy.
Yeah, still the number one killer. Yeah. Yeah, 1,800 people a day just getting wiped out by heart disease. So yeah, it's something that we've got to look at. So check out your stress levels. It's a big deal. All right. So one of the best ways you can mitigate the stress is exercise. And exercise, what the benefits are limitless. Not only do you get better brain-derived nootropic factors, but it decreases depression. So just by exercising every day during the holidays, you're going to reduce your depression. You're going to improve your cardiorespiratory and muscular fitness. You're going to lower the developing type 2 diabetes by 58%. You lower your risk of colon cancer by 60%, lower your risk of early death by 40%. You lose weight, you lower your risk of high blood pressure by 40%, and you lower the risk of breast cancer by 50%. Like, any reason why we shouldn't be exercising, Cade, that you can see?
I really can't see one.
I, yeah, I mean, and this is just with 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise. They show all these benefits. You even have a greater reduction in risk by exercising 200 minutes a week. So, and it doesn't need to be crazy. And if you have injuries or pain, come see us. Let's get rid of the pain so you can get back on with your life. So there's some cool takeaways there. All right. So now we're going to jump into kind of this health strategy session. I'm going to share with you guys some things you can do for those of you who, and hopefully I've given you some good strategies overall, and you guys have made some new intentions for the holidays this year. But for those of you who want to take it to the next level and actually see what is going on with your liver, do you have fatty liver already? Is there certain areas of your health that you should be more concerned about than others? Are there specific habits that you should be putting into play by the coming into this new decade? And the start of this decade has been turbulent, to say the least. Maybe it's a good chance to get your test done. So how many of you have ever ran a functional blood chemistry panel? I know several of you have ran those with us, and I really appreciate that. But maybe if you've ran it, you can plug it in and say, man, it gave me so many new insights. I had no idea this was going on with my kidneys, or I had no idea my hormones were off, and I had no idea. Plug it in for the people who haven't done this and let them know, like, hey, this was a game changer for me. But for those of you who have had the functional blood chemistry profile, and it's been over 6 months or even over 3 months, and you want to get a very clear strategy for the next phase of your health and life, well, now is going to be the time to do it. And I'm going to share with you some, you'll have an opportunity to give us a call, and all you need to do is plug in your number in the chat box or your name, and then Anne can get in touch with you and let you know how you can get your health strategy session going with us. So here's the difference between functional labs and typical standard medical labs. So functional labs help you develop a plan that makes for a healthy lifestyle and prevention of disease. Whereas pathological labs just wait until you're almost dead and where you've got a disease pattern built up before any changes can take place. And so what we look at in functional medicine is we say, well, let's get a clear plan of action. So our guarantee with each one of you is when you come in to get a test, we'll always provide a clear strategy, a clear plan of action. And that's what we've seen in so many cases. So what our labs look like is we will look at everything from, patterns where you've got above the reference range, above the optimal, below optimal, and we'll get above standard range, below standard ranges. And then we'll also look at the areas where your body is really in a dangerous zone. And I'm always shocked and surprised when I look at people's labs, how many markers tend to be out of balance. And so what have you noticed, Cade? I mean, you've also, you've had your own labs ran, you've looked at those with the medical team there in St. George, but are you surprised at the amount of imbalances that are going on in labs these days?
Yeah, well, and it's pretty crazy just from looking at the labs from a different perspective of how can I optimize my health rather than avoid disease, or do I have a disease? Because that's historically that's how medicine is used. Laboratory work is, all right, let's figure out what disease, what condition that this person has, and instead of looking at it from that lens, you're looking at it, how can we get this person functioning as optimal as possible? And so, if you look at the colors here, you have these yellows and reds, and pinks are really like, okay, we got to do something about that. That's
Fast.
critical.
Mhm.
But the yellows is where, okay, there's something trending in the wrong direction. Let's correct this, and we go through where the priorities are and everything. So it's really, really helpful and extremely beneficial. And we see, people that you'd expect them and think their health is just optimal. And there's always different improvements that we can make. Like, we look at our own labs, Reagan and I, and there's always different things that we can tweak and make improvements, and that's what's dictating our what we're putting into our body, and how we're exercising, how we're this really does help influence our lifestyle. And so it's great.
Yeah. So one of the things we'll do with you is we'll sit down, we'll analyze your labs, and then we'll put together a priority. So we call this the functional index. So we see where are the biggest malfunctions in your body, and how can we start working at correcting and optimizing your health based on what these objective measurements look at. So we want to lean on the science. So you can see the number one here, thyroid functional index, 100% in this patient. Gallbladder index, acid-based index, so electrolyte index, adrenal function, kidney function, liver, GI function, so that's digestive system, oxidative stress, toxicity index, immune function, heavy metal index, cardiovascular risk, inflammation, bone health, blood sugar, sex hormones for females, because this was a female profile, and red blood cell and lipid panel. So as usually if we knock out the first 4 or 5 of these priorities, then the rest of the body gets really healthy. So how many of you would love to have a priority when it came to your health? Instead of having kind of confusion and just, swallowing all the supplements that look good to you, maybe you should get a little more strategic. And that's what I found has been very helpful. Not only does it save you a ton of money, but the most expensive thing that we can do when it comes to our health is move ourselves in the wrong direction. And so I've seen patients who've been on keto, they fast all the time, and it has wrecked their health. Or I see other people who follow the standard American diet, and that wrecks their health. I mean, that's just, you've got to be really selective about what you're doing when it comes to your health. It's your health is way too valuable to take chances on it. So we'll look at your nutrient index. Do you have enough vitamins? This patient had digestive issues that kept her from absorbing the vitamins. We look at fat index. Are you eating enough fats? Are you actually metabolizing those fats? How's your hydration? How's your carbohydrate levels? How about your mineral levels? And are you getting enough protein? So imagine how nice it would be to know exactly what foods you want to be eating. And then we look at nutritional deficiencies. So, the most expensive supplement that you can take is the wrong one, or the most expensive peptide. So one of the things we look at is once we get your blood work in, not only do we give you the right supplement strategy, but we also look at peptides that can really maximize your metabolism. Because all peptides do is they clean up the cell-to-cell communication so that you can start maximizing your body's use of growth hormone, fat-burning hormones like testosterone and thyroxine. But peptides also can go into the mitochondria and start cleaning up your cells. So there's a lot of magic that can happen when you get the right peptides and the right nutritional deficiencies balanced out. So Cade, who should not do a test like this?
I really can't think of someone, unless like it's impossible to get your blood drawn. That would be like the only instance. If that's like a deal breaker for you, I'm sorry. That's the only way to get this test ran. We do have other options, but for blood work, we got to do a blood draw, which sometimes that's a little intimidating.
Yes. And so for those of you who are ready to get going on this, all you need to do is email Anne at annmarked@gowellness.com, or what's a easier,
I think Anne, if you just reply to the reminder that's on this this Zoom link, you can send that there. You can go to our website, but Anne, that's ANNE dot marked MARKT at gowellness.com.
perfect.
She can help get you routed. I know there's some people out listening to us on the radio, and so if you don't have access to the visuals, it's nice to have that spelled out. And any other remarks on how people can get scheduled for this?
Yeah, definitely. You can also call us if that's better for you. Our main line is 801-872-8699, and then just select your best clinic location or the one if you've already been a patient with us that you've been going to, just so we have all your records in one place. And yeah, it's so great. This is such a great deal because lab blood work can be very expensive, but you're getting more information for way less money than if you were to go the conventional routes. This is so important.
Yes. So we've got a special 50% off. So when you call, you'll meet with us and then we'll decide what lab will be best for you. So awesome. Well, thanks so much. We're out of time, but oh, holy smokes. I hope you guys have a phenomenal holiday season. We'll be talking about this a few more times this year, but you guys get your intentions out and have a happy Halloween in your cool costumes, Cade and Anne.
Yeah. Happy
Yay,
Halloween,
thank you.
everybody.
Happy Halloween.
We'll be back same time, same place next week. Love you all. Have a great one.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye.